important thing to understand about any open network is, number one, it is the most inefficient way to move data. So if we were to store, house, or transfer data, a blockchain is just not a good way of doing it. It's expensive. You require many different validations, i.e. every person's computer has to be able to therefore store, hold, and validate all of that data for the history of time from which it started, the chain, up until now. Right, so this is a really important thing. So when you're understanding and questioning, does this actually make sense from a scaling perspective, which is what Dmitry was describing, is that you fundamentally, the amount of energy that goes in or the amount of computations or information that goes in, right, you have to give and take, right? So you cannot have infinite scale on a finite chain, right? So this idea that we can allow validation or chains to infinitely scale on, let's say, the Ethereum network or the Bitcoin network is just fundamentally incorrect, right? So people who are going out and saying, oh, we're going to decentralize every type of ICO, I think that that's a number one thing to look at, to say, number one, what is decentralization? Number two, is this even possible? And number three, what would it require in order to make that actually possible?
So I'll take this as well. So at the Blockchain Research Institute, we do work with a lot of enterprise companies, Fortune 500s, names you guys would all know. And so the general theme is there's a very big distinction between open source public blockchains and then private chains, right? So for example, you have Hyperledger, which is backed by IBM, the Linux Foundation, et cetera. And so they're working on these sort of issues. How do you help industries adopt it? Well, the only way to do that is through a consortium, right? Because think of, I'll take a project that's close to home, for example. We looked at how Walmart tracks mangoes, the provenance and the quality of mangoes across the supply chain. There's, between the point of origin to the customer, there's about 30 or 40 or more touch points, right? And so how do you track that data? It involves buy-in from all those parties. It involves, the blockchain is only as valuable as the info that you input into it. So if you're inputting shitty data into it, you're gonna get shit in, shit out sort of thing, right? So you have to trust that all the actors are gonna be inputting the right data, and then you can track it, right? So it's a long way of saying you need to get buy-in from as many parties as possible that are part of this little circle that you're trying to kind of work with.
Fire!